From our Chicago studios, this is the Muslim News on Muslim Network TV. Assalamu alaikum, I'm Samana Siddiqui. Our top story tonight. Former U.S. President Donald Trump plans to turn himself in on Thursday at the Fulton County Jail in Atlanta. He has agreed to $200,000 bail and other conditions of release. These include not using social media to attack co-defendants or witnesses. Several other defendants in the case have also reached bail agreements with prosecutors. All defendants are expected to turn themselves in this week before Friday's deadline. Authorities say security has been beefed up at the Fulton County Courthouse complex. Barricades around the courthouse will remain in place through Saturday. This is the fourth criminal case against Trump this year. Republican presidential candidates will face off in their first debate on Wednesday night. The debate will be moderated by Fox News in Milwaukee, Wisconsin. 7 candidates are expected to participate. They include former Vice President Mike Pence, former South Carolina Governor Nikki Haley, and former New Jersey Governor Chris Christie. Ex-President Donald Trump will not attend the debate. Trump has said he does not feel the need to participate and has refused to sign a pledge to support the eventual Republican nominee. Trump is leading in the polls, but his closest challengers are Florida Governor Ron DeSantis and former pharmaceutical executive Vivek Ramaswami. In Wednesday's debate, candidates will be questioned on a range of topics, including the economy, immigration, and foreign policy. In related news, Republican presidential candidate Vivek Ramaswamy's ties with Hindu nationalists are raising concern. Critics say they highlight his anti-democratic tendencies. Ramaswamy is an Indian American and former pharmaceutical executive. He supports Hindu nationalism, which is the belief that India belongs to Hindus. Hindu nationalist patron organization Rashtriya Swayamsevak Sangh, or RSS, advocates turning India into an autocratic Hindu ethno-state. India's ruling Bharatiya Janata Party is a political offshoot of the RSS, and Prime Minister Narendra Modi is an active member of it. Human rights groups note that under Modi's rule since 2014, religious minorities such as Muslims and Christians are suffering. They have faced greater violence, cultural erasure, and lower status. Modi also has a track record of suppressing dissent, making hate speech against minorities, and making laws restricting religious freedoms. But Ramaswamy recently praised Modi for reviving national pride in India. He is appealing to the growing Modi fan base in the U.S. That includes militant Hindu groups whose offshoots pose as cultural or advocacy organizations. The Hindu Swayamsevak Sangh and the Vishwa Hindu Parishad of America are 2 examples. They're both linked to the RSS and the BJP. Armed members of the anti-government extremist group the Boogaloo Boys staged a weekend protest in Virginia. This was over the arrest of 4 of its members for carrying firearms. The group converged on the Thomas Calhoun Walker Education Center in Gloucester County in protest. The Sheriff's Department had arrested 4 men last month after they showed up at a local school board meeting carrying handguns. Group leader Mike Dunn says the confiscation of his friends' weapons was a violation of their constitutional rights. Group members also held an armed prayer ceremony to criticize a Virginia law that in some cases makes it a misdemeanor to carry a firearm in a house of worship. The Roman Catholic Archbishop of San Francisco has sought bankruptcy relief under the U.S. Bankruptcy Code. The move was prompted by more than 500 child sexual abuse lawsuits filed against the Archdiocese under California's Bill 218. That law allowed decades-old claims to be filed by December 31st, 2022. These would have been otherwise barred by the statute of limitations. Most of the lawsuits involve allegations of abuse that occurred more than 30 years ago and involved priests no longer active or already deceased. Archbishop Salvatore Cordileone says bankruptcy is the best solution to compensate survivors while allowing the Archdiocese to fulfill its mission. The bankruptcy filing pauses legal action while the diocese develops a reorganization plan. That is based on available assets and insurance coverage to pay abuse survivors' claims. The Archdiocese's 88 parishes, schools, seminaries, and universities are not affected by the bankruptcy filing. Israeli police are accused of carving a Star of David on the face of a Palestinian man in custody. 22-year-old Arva Sheikh Ali was detained by Israeli police in East Jerusalem last Wednesday on drug trafficking charges. He said during his arrest he was brutally beaten by police officers who carved the Star of David into his face with a metal tool. Forensic experts who examined Ali's injuries confirmed the mark on his face was not from a trunk or other blunt object, but most likely from a metal tool. Police have denied the abuse allegations, but did not provide a credible explanation for the mark on Ali's face. The court had ordered an investigation into police conduct and placed Ali under house arrest. Scholars say anti-Muslim sentiments in France rooted in history. Details after the break, so stay tuned and we'll be right back. Welcome back. Turkish multiculturalism scholar Nagihan Haliloglu says anti-Muslim sentiment in France is deeply rooted and stems from historical trauma. She says the separation of Algeria from France and colonial defeats contribute to this feeling, and that anti-Islam sentiment in France serves as a method to repress these historical defeats and trauma. Haliloglu also argues that French politicians target Muslims not to address real issues such as women's rights and equality, but rather to appease voters. She notes as well that this portrayal of Islam is not limited to politics, but also extends to art and literature in France. That includes celebrated French author Michel Houellebecq, who is a key figure in French literature and reflects anti-Muslim sentiments. His novel Soumission deals with the Islamization of France and depicts a scenario in which a Muslim party wins the 2022 presidential election. Somalia's Ministry of Communications and Technology has banned the use of TikTok, Telegram, and 1xBet. Minister of Communications and Technology Jama Hassan Khalif announced the ban. He cited concerns about the negative impact of the platforms on the younger generation. That includes the potential to promote violence, hate speech, and vulgarity. TikTok is a video platform, Telegram is a messaging app, and 1xBet is an online betting platform. Several African governments have criticized TikTok for promoting trends that could negatively influence impressionable minds. The ban also follows concerns that Telegram could be used to facilitate illegal activities. The ban is likely to face opposition from Somali youth who use these platforms extensively. A prominent Sunni leader was detained in Iran's southeastern province of Sistan-Balochistan. Maulvi Fathi Muhammad Naqshbandi is a leader of Friday prayers in the town of Rask in the Sunni-majority province, which borders Pakistan and Afghanistan. Iran's provincial judiciary office said Naqshbandi had taken extreme positions and allied himself with the opponents of the Islamic system in recent months. The office accused him of inciting street riots through his sermons. Among other things, Naqshbandi is accused of acting against national security. Both he and the head of Friday prayers in Zahedan, Maulvi Abdul Hamid Ismail Zahi, frequently have delivered anti-government speeches in recent months. Last September, 19 people were killed and 20 others injured in nationwide protests. This was after a group of armed demonstrators stormed a police station in the provincial capital of Zahedan. The province has seen several deadly attacks on security forces in recent months. Iranian authorities have blamed local militant groups for the attacks. Pakistani President Arif Alvi has recommended the dismissal of his secretary amid controversy over his approval of two controversial bills. Alvi claims he did not sign bills to tighten provisions of the Official Secrets Act and the Pakistan Army Act. The measures give authorities more powers to prosecute crimes against the state and the military. They were approved by Parliament and then forwarded to Alvi for approval. Under Pakistan's constitution, a bill becomes law if the president does not sign it. But if he sends them back with objections within 10 days of approval, they must again go before the parliament. Alvi instructed his staff not to return the bills to the government within the prescribed 10-day period. However, the Ministry of Justice contradicted Alvi's claim and said he could have made specific comments on the bills within the specified time. Alvi's secretary, Waqar Ahmed, also disputed his claims and called for investigation. He said the files for both bills were still with the president. The president's action comes amid political tensions. Alvi belongs to the Pakistan Tehreek-e-Insaf party, which opposes the bills. Two PTI leaders, Shah Mahmood Qureshi and Asad Umar, were arrested shortly after these laws went into effect. Saudi border guards have filed explosive weapons at Ethiopian migrants trying to cross into the Gulf Kingdom via Yemen, killing hundreds since last year. New York-based Human Rights Watch has documented the attacks. The group says the killings appear to be widespread and systematic. It interviewed 38 Ethiopian migrants trying to cross into Saudi Arabia from Yemen. Respondents described 28 incidents involving explosive weapons, including attacks with mortar rounds. Some survivors described close-range attacks in which Saudi border guards asked Ethiopians which body part they would prefer to be shot in. The rights group called on Riyadh to immediately and urgently revoke any policy of using lethal force against migrants and asylum seekers. The attacks occurred along the dangerous eastern route from the Horn of Africa to Saudi Arabia, where hundreds of thousands of Ethiopians live and work. Saudi authorities have not responded to the allegations. The Philippines is set to open its first Islamic Institute of Higher Learning, the Kuliya Institution in Bunuan. The Bangsamoro Education Ministry will supervise the institution, which will offer courses at undergraduate and postgraduate levels. Bangsamoro is an autonomous region in the Philippines, located in the southwestern portion of the island of Mindanao. Legislation related to setting up the institution is expected to be passed soon. The school offers a unique opportunity for Filipino Muslims to study Islamic and Arabic studies. It is part of the government's efforts to promote peace and development in the southern Philippines, which is majority Muslim. The institution is expected to attract students from across the Philippines and the world. That's all from our Chicago studios tonight. Thank you for tuning in. You can subscribe to our YouTube channel and hit the bell icon for the latest updates. For more content, keep watching Muslim Network TV or visit muslimnetwork.tv. Salam and good night.